I almost had my identity and banking information stolen while applying to jobs. Now that's insane that could even be a risk, but I'll give you kind of some tips to avoid and some red flags that you should look out for. When you apply for a lot of jobs and when you're in specific job marketplaces, whether it be Indeed, Robert Half, LinkedIn, and you start applying to some of them as well as to applying to general recruiters, I think your email starts to pass around to legitimate recruiters as well as probably a lot of spam ones. And in the tech industry, you're going to get a lot of emails like, hey, urgent hiring, Golang, Python, backend engineer, fully remote, blah, 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 blah. And you're going to get a lot of recruiters reaching out with generalized, I would say, applications and job postings of such like that. And in my case, I recently got an entry-level marketing position because I was also applying to marketing roles. The reason why I was applying to marketing roles is because while working at my entrepreneur, small business, I did all the marketing and it was successful. I was generating a lot of money through the company. Lots of reasons why I stopped running the company. Different story. However, I was running Google ads, Facebook ads, doing pixels, looking at analytics, creating the actual content for the ads, looking at conversion rates, setting up sales funnels. I did it all. Truly. Every bit of it. Regardless, that was one of the roles I was applying for. So as I was applying for marketing roles, there was a recruiter that emailed me saying, hey, we have this role at this company. If we're looking for urgent hires or hiring 4 or 5 candidates, this interests you, email this person. So it was a recruiter that then in that recruiting email had another email to a different person, which would be the company, the hiring manager, to essentially go through the interview process or to schedule a screening. And so I'm like, okay, this seems relatively legit. And so I took that email and I emailed that person. And I looked at the email and it looked relatively fine. There was one small discrepancy. I looked up the domain of the company. It's the same name, but one had a dash in the name and one didn't have a dash. My justification to not think it was a red flag initially was oh, it's probably just a separate email system. So, their outreach one, the one that they're doing outreach for prospect candidates and so forth, doesn't get flagged as spam as the main company one that they use when they talk to clients and internal company usage. And, that's not a rare thing in my opinion. It wouldn't make a lot of sense, but it was a bit odd. So then I emailed them and then they responded back, I think the next day or maybe the same day later on within business hours. And they go, hey, great, nice to meet you. And I attached my resume and so forth. And yeah, we would love to schedule a chat and whatever to go over the position. Let us know if this is of interest and so forth. I'm like, okay, yeah. When are you? And I gave them the time frames that I'm available. All of this seemed relatively normal. I was thinking it's a video call because that's what all interviews are for the most part. In the exception of I've had an interview over the phone, which was AI. It was an AI phone call system. So that's already happening now. And I've done one of those. It's weird. You kind of just don't take it that seriously. So the odd part that they go, it's oh, this is not a video call or call. This is a text conversation interview. And I'm over Microsoft Teams. I'm okay, that's new. And I was just, the only rationalization that I was thinking was well, maybe it's an automated system that's then leveraged to then, bring me to the next interview where it's okay, they make sure I know what I'm talking about. And then they actually have a real person then interviewing me. You funnel out some people that just don't know what they're talking about. And then you actually, have one of the employees spend time. Anyways, we move on and we do this text conversation in the morning, the following day. So it's pretty quick. They were just saying it was very automated-esque. And then they said, we're going to ask you, I think it was 10 questions. You have 30 minutes to respond. Say stop when you're done. I'm really thinking oh, this is an AI agent. So they're definitely going to have, I guess, like a human follow-up afterwards. But it never told me it's an AI agent. And I think you have to kind of like disclose it's an AI agent when you do these interviews, at least from my own experience. When you have an AI agent interviewing you, it's very upfront. But this one wasn't like that. They just never disclosed if it was an AI agent, a bot, or if it's a real person that just had no personality. And I'll share the messages because I have no, at this point it's about exposing a scam. So I answered all the questions. I answered it relatively within the time frame, and I said stop. And it goes, okay, great, thank you for your responses. We'll get back to you soon on the next steps and if you qualify for the marketing role position. And these questions are pretty simple, and there's enough time to like really provide a thoughtful response to each one. I go, all right, great. I guess, I'll find out soon if I really got the role. At this point, I started cross-referencing like the email. When they emailed me, there was a specific location company was working out of, and they have multiple offices all around the globe. So it's like a global company. But the location that they had listed, I looked it up and it said it was permanently closed on Google. I'm like, well, that's a red flag. There's already a few red flags, or maybe I'd call them like yellow flags. Like the team's chat. The only reason why I don't call it a red flag is it could have been an automated AI interview process. So initially wasn't a red flag. I call it a yellow flag, But then the first real red flag was like, okay, the company location that they're apparently contacting me from is saying it's permanently closed on Google. So then I call that company and no one answers the phone. And I'm like, okay, odd. There was a person's name attached to the email that was supposed to be the hiring manager. I couldn't find this person. I'm like, okay, that's odd. It's a little weird. It's not completely unheard of where you don't have all the employees there. And like I said, it could be an AI agent. So that employee doesn't exist, but it is weird you don't. So at this point, after I did this initial interview, where they don't really ask any personal information stuff, it's past a bit odd. It's just odd now. Anyways, next day rolls by. They message me. They go, hey, great. And it's the same thing through Teams. And they're like, hey, great. You passed. We would like to employ you, whatever. And I'm like, wait. There's not another round? Like, you're not going to want to see my face, hear how I talk, have proof that I know what I'm talking about, because it was just through text. I could have cheated that exam. I was really expecting there to be another round. It just didn't seem right that the only round of an interview is text. I'm like, okay, this is now a huge red flag now. Because like I said, benefit of the doubt. They're just screening out entry people that just don't know what they're doing. And then they started telling me about how they're going to give me this equipment for the job. The equipment will be used for the day-to-day. They're essentially providing me the materials to work from home, all this stuff. And it sounds like, they're giving you like all these great things. And so they wanted to essentially hire me. And they're like, can you provide us some basic information about yourself? So we could send the contract and all this other stuff over. I'm like, at this point now, I'm like, all right, I'm doing a cross research on the actual domain address. Because the domain, like I mentioned, that was like a yellow flag that came up where I'm like, it's not necessarily that I think it's a red flag. It was just odd that I started looking at the company's employees. They had this specific email domain, but the email that's contacting me is this domain. Really odd for why that is. I looked into that. The real company had their domain and it was tied to the business. And it was like 12 years registered. Then this new domain was not tied to the business and it was registered like last 4 or 5 months. I'm like, okay, I think we're noticing a scam here where it's going to take a real live company that's very similar and then they're going to just manipulate the domain and follow very close to what the company does, but it's not 100%. You're going to have a lot of scams where they're going to try to act like they're going to hire you, and the domain is going to be so close to the actual domain to the degree where it's like, okay, maybe this is their spam. Like, you will justify this domain that's emailing you. So I'm doing all these checks real quick. At this point, I just want to see where this scam is going to go. Because at this point, I want to map out this scam. They email me with a W-2, a business contract for the company, and then they wanted me to provide my bank account information so they could deposit funds to me. Please fill out the employment agreement, and then we'll continue forward, and we welcome you to the company, whatever. And I'm like, wait. And I go, can I please talk to someone about this? Like, I'd like to have a phone conversation with someone. And they go, yes, of course. After, like, you fill out the application and stuff, we have a follow-on call with you. I'm like, you see, that's not going to work for me, because clearly the whole leverage here is you're going to want my bank information, you want my identity, you pretty much want everything that I have. So then you won. You got everything from me. This is not a real application or job. And I'm like, wow, this is so kind of intricate, but too, holy shit, this is fucked up. You're taking advantage of people looking for a job that are, I'm desperate, but I'm not like, I'm not like fully on like desperate, clinging at any and every opportunity with the sacrifice of something great. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that makes sense. Essentially, like, I'm not going to screw myself over if I know a certain position is going to screw me over. And I'm willing to take a job, and even like entry, like sweeping the floors at a tech business type of job. I'm not picky at this point, but like, I'm not gonna like let myself fall into a scam. And I've talked to some people about this, and they're like, bro, if I was in your position, I would have fell for that. Like, I would have been so desperate for a job. Like, I'm like, and it makes me scared. I'm like, how many people might have fell for this job application? Like, clearly must work. But it's like, I felt like they were taking advantage of people that are just extremely desperate. I'm not a risk adverse person, but I also hedge my bets, and I'm willing to take on risk and hear things out, but I also won't screw myself over. But I'm going to share all of the information of this company, because I hope no one else is going to fall for it. And mind you, there's a real company, and then there's a scam company. The scam company is acting like the real company. So the real company is legit. No, like, please don't like harass them or anything. It's not their fault. Any company can fall for this. It's not even like any company can be a victim of this masking of scam. And unfortunately, when I called the real company to try to get a response, no one ever reached out to me, because I just wanted to know, like, were they even hiring? Like, are they aware of this situation that's going on? And ultimately, I don't think they are, but they just never got back to me. And I think it's a real shame that there's actually, like, there's people doing rug pulls. There's a lot of bad people out there that are really trying to take advantage of people. But, like, this was, like, a level of, like, taking advantage that this is, like, really, like, messed up. Because, like, if someone's looking for jobs, they're probably in a tight financial position or just in a tight life position, and really looking for opportunity. And if you were to take their banking information and their whole identity, like, you just made their life probably isn't already all that great, but you just made it 100 times worse, and you probably just liquidated for what they had. This is why I wanted to make this video, to hope no one fall for this. You got to be very wary about the emails that just come to your email inbox that are talking about how they have these job opportunities, because the reality is a lot of these job opportunities might not even be real, and they're just literal scams to get your identity, get your bank information, and to rip you off. Be very careful. If it's too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. Question why they're emailing you. Question why and how they got your contact information. And unfortunately, this might ruin your job applying process, as it has for mine, because I think I had another one of these scenarios happen afterwards that was even more legit, and I'll make another video about that as well. But I think after these attempt identity scams, I've not really been wanting to keep applying. It's kind of messed up, and I went through several rounds, and there was some companies I literally was about to get hired at last round, and then they just went a different route, something internal. They hired, I just didn't get picked. Now I'm checking my email for updates on stuff, and when you get an email saying urgently hiring entry level, whatever. It's like you don't see a lot of good entry level positions on these job boards because they pretty much don't exist right now. And the entry levels that do exist on these job boards often are just a little out of scope of what my skills actually are. You know, it might be like entry level embedded systems with like, you know, C++ or something like that. That's not really my forte. Like I don't have experience with that. That's just not the job for me. Just be careful out there. I just wanted to make this video as like a warning, and also for those that don't really understand the market right now. Like, you know, it's already hard to like just get your foot in the door, but it's even harder now knowing that you don't know what email or recruiter that's reaching out to you is trying to also steal your identity and bank information. From my perspective, it's like I don't even want to keep pursuing because, like, how do I know if this is real? And I don't want to waste my time. And it's like you have that 1 or 2 days of like, oh, am I finally going to get hired? And then you're just like, oh, no, we're just going to steal my identity. And like I said, this is the first time it happened. I have another situation that I'm nearly certain it's a scam, but I'm going to wait until I'm 100% certain. It's even more damning than this one. It is not easy right now. I wish you all the best, and thanks for watching this. I appreciate it so much, and all the positive comments. So yeah, see ya.